One day, the universe will still exist, and yet almost nothing we emotionally recognize as a universe will be left. No sunrise, no constellations, no warm yellow stars scattered across the dark. Just a vast, thinning blackness where the great engines of creation have gone silent. And the disturbing part is not that stars die. It is that one day all of them do. Right now, that sounds impossible. The night sky feels permanent. Even when we know stars are mortal, they still seem beyond the reach of ordinary endings. Mountains erode, oceans dry, civilizations collapse. But stars feel older than consequence itself. They hang above human history like something exempt from loss. And yet every star you have ever seen is living on borrowed time. A star is not a glowing ornament, it is a balance. Outward pressure from nuclear fire pushing against the inward pull of gravity. A long negotiation between collapse and resistance. For millions, billions, sometimes trillions of years, that balance holds. Then, quietly or violently, it fails. Gravity waits for that moment with perfect patience. For stars like our Sun, the ending begins almost gently. In about 5 billion years, the Sun will swell into a red giant. The sky above Earth, if Earth is still here in any meaningful sense, will no longer be the familiar blue ceiling that held our childhood. The Sun will become vast, unstable, swollen with its last attempts at survival. A star that once gave life will begin unmaking the conditions that made life possible at all. This is where the story becomes personal. We like to imagine the death of stars as distant theatre, something happening safely behind the glass of space. But our own existence was shaped by the calm reliability of one ordinary star. Your heartbeat, your memories, the oceans, forests, cities, languages, all of it depends on that one controlled furnace continuing to burn. When it changes, everything human changes with it. Eventually the Sun will cast off its outer layers, leaving behind its exposed core, a white dwarf. Something roughly Earth-sized, yet unimaginably dense, no longer producing new heat, no longer truly alive in the stellar sense. Just the leftover heart of a dead star, glowing because it has not finished cooling yet. In about 10 billion years, that is what our Sun is expected to become. Not a triumphant final blaze, a remnant, a ghost of pressure and ash. And the Sun is not unusual. That may be the most unsettling truth of all. This is not an exception. It is the rule for stars less than about 8 times the Sun's mass. They expand. They shed themselves. They leave behind white dwarfs, wrapped for a time in beautiful shells of gas and dust. Planetary nebulae look delicate, almost tender, as if death in the cosmos comes with mercy. But their beauty hides something colder. They are evidence that even stars are recycled. That recycling is the only reason we exist. The carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your blood, the calcium in your bones, all of it was forged in older stars and returned to space when those stars died. The universe did not build life out of fresh material. It built us out of ruins, which means every human being is, in the most literal sense, assembled from ancient endings. But not every ending is quiet. When a star begins with far more mass, the story changes from exhaustion to catastrophe. Massive stars burn faster, brighter, more recklessly. They live like cosmic aristocrats, spending fuel with almost absurd extravagance. And when the balance finally fails, the collapse is so sudden that the star detonates in a supernova. The core is crushed into a neutron star, or if the original star is heavier still, into a black hole. A single object can end as something only as wide as a city, or as a region of space-time so warped that not even light returns. So the universe has more than one way to erase a sun. It can let it fade into a white dwarf. It can compress it into a neutron star. It can bury it in a black hole. Different deaths, Same verdict. No star keeps burning forever. And yet, disturbingly, this is still only the beginning of the story. Because when we talk about the end of all stars, we are not talking about a single apocalypse. We are talking about an age of attrition so vast that human language almost breaks trying to hold it. Not years, not civilizations, not the lifespan of planets. We are talking about the long unwinding of the star-filled universe itself. We happen to live in what astronomers call the Stelliferous Era, the age of stars. A rare window in cosmic history when new stars are still being born, existing stars are still shining, and galaxies still contain the raw material for light. To us, that feels normal. But normal is just the name conscious creatures give to the tiny slice of time they were lucky enough to inhabit. Even now, the universe is becoming less fertile. Gas is being used up. Galaxies are aging. Star formation slows. The great nurseries will not remain open forever. There will come a time when no new stars are born in meaningful numbers. Whatever stars are alive then will simply age, die, and not be replaced. Imagine a city where every light bulb eventually burns out, and no factory anywhere can make another. That is the future of the cosmos. The last stars to endure will not be giants like the sun. They will be red dwarfs, the misers of the universe. Small, cool, and astonishingly efficient, they burn their fuel so slowly that some may survive for up to about 14 trillion years. Trillion. Long after the sun is gone. Long after every sun-like star has collapsed into a white dwarf. Long after Earth has become less a world than a memory in the chemistry of debris. Tiny red dwarfs will still be glowing in the dark, quietly outliving almost everything we instinctively associate with the word forever. And even that is not the end, because when the last red dwarfs finally fail, the universe does not end in a dramatic curtain fall. It enters something far stranger, a degenerate era, an age populated not by living stars, but by stellar corpses. White dwarfs, brown dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes, dead planets drifting through colder and colder distances. The cosmos does not vanish. It remains, but it loses its warmth, its rhythm, its obvious sources of light. The sky, if any observer could still look up, would feel less like a kingdom of fire and more like a graveyard that has forgotten who is buried there. This is where the phrase, "the end of all stars," becomes psychologically difficult, because we tend to imagine endings as moments, a flash, a collapse, a final scene. But the universe prefers slow cruelty. It keeps going. It keeps expanding. It keeps creating space between things. There is no merciful finale. There is only less and less light, spread over more and more darkness. And yet even in that near-dead future, the cosmos may still produce occasional flickers of defiance. Astronomers have suggested that brown dwarfs, the so-called failed stars, can collide and merge. Very rarely in a galaxy the size of the Milky Way, perhaps only once every quadrillion years, two of these dim objects may come together and ignite a new low-mass star. Imagine that. After the age of stars has effectively ended, the universe may still manage a few reluctant afterthoughts. A spark in a cemetery, a final sentence after the book was supposed to be over. That almost makes it worse, because it means the universe does not simply go dark. It hesitates. It lingers. It produces the occasional lonely ember, just enough to remind emptiness what it used to be. Not enough to restore a living cosmos. Only enough to make the silence feel more deliberate. And then even those leftovers begin to fail. White dwarfs cool over immense spans of time. Neutron stars wait in the dark. Black holes dominate as the most durable monuments to everything that once burned. If proton decay is real, even the matter inside stellar remnants will not last indefinitely. In one model of the distant future, a decaying white dwarf would give off only about enough power to run a few light bulbs. Think about what that means. A whole dead star, the compressed remnant of something that once outshone planets, reduced to the energy budget of a quiet room. Scale that upward. An entire future galaxy of such remnants could glow with less total light than one ordinary hydrogen-burning star today. A galaxy dimmer than a single sun. It is not just that the universe becomes dark, it becomes emotionally unrecognizable. Structure remains, but significance drains out of it. Then come the black holes, the last great authorities of the dead cosmos. During the eras before them, they feed on what falls inward. They grow, they wait, they seem like the final victors, the one class of object brutal enough to survive everything else. But even they are not forever. Through Hawking radiation, black holes are expected to lose energy over unimaginable timescales. Even a black hole with the mass of a galaxy does not win permanently. It evaporates, not in fire, in a patient surrender to quantum law. So the end of all stars is not really about stars at all. It is about a universe that cannot keep anything luminous. Every source of brilliance is temporary. Every island of order is rented. Every warmth, every dawn, every stable horizon belongs to a brief middle chapter in a much longer, colder story. There is something deeply unsettling about that, because human beings are creatures of local permanence. We build around routines. Morning follows night. Summer returns. The sun rises again. We trust repetition so much that we mistake it for a guarantee. But the universe never promised continuity. It only allowed it for a while. One day there will be no starfields to inspire myth, no bright anchor for a planet to orbit, no natural beacon for travelers, poets, or anything with eyes. The very concept of a home star may become impossible. Whatever intelligence exists then, if anything exists then, would inherit a cosmos stripped of the emotional architecture we take for granted. No warm center, no obvious direction, no visible abundance, just remnants and distances. That is why the end of stars is more than astrophysics. It is a confrontation with scale, with time, with indifference. We often ask whether the universe is hostile. That may be the wrong word. Hostility implies attention. The universe does not hate what it erases. It does not notice. Stars die because physics allows no exemptions for beauty, memory, or need. The same laws that made light also guarantee its loss. And still, there is another side to this. The fact that stars end does not only diminish us, it reveals us. For a brief moment in the Stelliferous Era, on one planet around one ordinary star, matter learned to look up and understand what would happen to the lights above it. That is almost absurdly improbable. In a universe headed toward darkness, consciousness appeared early enough to witness the fire. We are fragile, more fragile than our cities suggest, more temporary than our stories admit. But we are not trivial. To be small is not the same as being meaningless. In some quiet way, our ability to know the fate of stars gives the cosmos a strange kind of reflection. The universe may be indifferent, but through us for a little while, it becomes visible to itself. Maybe that is the real emotional weight of this story. Not that all stars die, but that they shine at all. That between the first collapse of gas and the last cooling remnant, there exists this astonishing interval where light can warm worlds, shape chemistry, create weather, carve shadows, and eventually awaken minds that feel wonder and fear in equal measure. The age of stars is temporary, which means every dawn in human history has been part of a vanishing miracle. Somewhere in the far future, the final true stars will fade. The universe will continue without them, but it will never again look the way it looks now. No generation after that darkness, if any generation could still exist, would inherit the sky we inherited. This bright, scattered ceiling of fire is not the default state of reality. It is the exception, a beautiful temporary rebellion against the dark. So tonight, when the night sky seems familiar, remember that familiarity is a gift of timing. We were born absurdly early in the luminous chapter, before the long exhaustion, before the last red dwarfs dim, before the stellar graveyard takes over, before even black holes begin to disappear. We live in the brief age when the universe still knows how to glow. And perhaps that is why the end of all stars feels so disturbing, because it reminds us that beauty is not made smaller by its impermanence. It is made more urgent. The sky above us is not eternal scenery. It is a passing event, an event we were somehow allowed to witness. If this quiet corner of the universe and the strange fate written into its stars moved something in you, let this journey travel farther. Share it with someone who still looks up. And if you want to keep exploring these beautiful, unsettling truths with us, you can subscribe and stay for the next descent into the dark.